Hello, and welcome to the 11th episode of our weekly Unity tip Roundup, where we take a look at the tweets that were posted or mentioned on or around each Tuesday under the Unity tips hashtag. As usual, we looked through a lot of really good tips from many creators on Twitter and had to decide on a small number of them to keep the video at a reasonable length. Maybe after watching, head over to Twitter and search for Unity tips for a treasure trove of more content. In this episode, we gather tweets that were posted, shared or retweeted around 22nd of March 2022. We are not the least bit surprised to find another tip from Peter, who also goes by the name Sunny Valley Studio, in our list for this week. He's a regular part of our roundup with really great tips. His follower count is around 633 right now. Let's see how fast he can hit 650. His tip for this week is about using the Serialize field attribute with the field modifier on a property. We won't go into more detail on this because there is some discussion happening under the post. We recommend to check it out. Tammy, or Pete as his profile reveals, is a game developer for adventure games and is working on Tobin's Tale. Right next to his follower count of 5,256, there is a link in his profile where you can wishlist the game on Steam. If you have some time on your hands, please do it, it really helps. What he writes is more than a tip, it feels like an epiphany. Did you know that you can use post-processing on UI? Well, apparently you can, and it looks awesome. Check out the video in his post. Matthew, who works as a product manager at Unity Technologies, again made our list. His follower count is at 1,570. If you are struggling with performance, his tip might be just for you. When you are working with cascade shadows, you can update them one by one. That opens up a lot of options to save performance and optimize the shadowing. If you want to read up on how to do it, there's a link to the documentation in his post. Emad is a software engineer at PlayCorp Studios. He already has 77 followers, and maybe you want to raise that number? He shares a little script with the community that does a platform-dependent disabling of game objects. If your project is multi-platform, this might come in handy. For a little example on how this works, check out the images in his post and the link to a gist in the posting. Darksphere is passionate about writing and developing games. He works as a gameplay programmer at Budge Studios and he has 218 followers. His tip is one of those that most people roll their eyes at because it seems to be common knowledge. But usually it's exactly these ones that have the hugest effect because it helps a lot of people who might not already know it. We are talking about the possibility to have multiple inspector windows. And with the additional ability to lock an individual inspector, you can do some amazing things which were impossible or at least annoying before. And right before we end this episode, we will sneakily add our own tip to the video. This week we discovered the delayed attribute, which might sound very specific at first, but might save you a lot of hassle when writing editor code. Usually, if your script executes code in the onValidate function, it gets called as soon as anything changes in any field. If you are doing some heavy calculations based on that call, this might lead to a really bad editor experience. If you have to type in longer values, because it will be called on each character or number you type. The solution is to add the delayed attribute to the fields where necessary. If you do this, onValidate will only be called if you press enter in the field or if it loses focus. If you are still unsure what it does, check the video in our post. And without any additional delay, we reach the end of this episode. Again, we hope that these tips were helpful and you can use a few of them in your everyday work. As always, these tips are from a wide variety of creators on Twitter who are passionate about sharing their wisdom with the community and do this week after week. So please show them some appreciation and leave them a follow. Also, while you are checking out their profile, maybe you will find more interesting tips. If you want to see more Unity content, we want to recommend checking out our own channel where we have a few more episodes from this series, as well as a few Unity tutorials on different topics. If that is the content you are looking for, consider subscribing and don't forget to hit the bell icon. For any questions, comments, recommendations or requests, please use the comment section. Thank you for your time and see you next week.